It's been a while since I've last shared an endgame study, so I figured you guys would like to see one again. This one was composed by the legendary Alexey Troitsky and it was published in 1895, way before he could ever consult a chess engine to help create this. But even so, he did leave us with another amazing study. The position in front of us shows white is down a queen for a knight, but he does have a passed pawn ready to promote. It's white to play and win. You can pause the video if you want to, and I'll just add this. Sometimes promoting to a queen isn't the way to win. Anyway, let's get started. So why is promoting right now not winning? If c8 equals queen check, then black still has one safe square left, king to b6, and even with the extra knight, white cannot force a win. If queen b8 check, that's the simplest, then black blocks the check with check, and after the trade it's just a draw. If instead white tries to bring a knight over, let's say knight to b3, then black can once again trade queens like this, and again it's a draw. The only other try white has is giving checks, but when the king hides on a6, even though white can even win black's knight like this, it really doesn't matter. Black can start giving checks, and the white king cannot avoid the checks, and again it's a draw. So going back to the starting position, simply promoting isn't good enough. White's only way to win is to start with this knight check. Now all but one king move loses the queen to a fork. If king to d5, then knight c3 check. Or king to b5, then again knight c3 check. And if lastly king to c4, then knight d2 check, and once again black drops the queen. Only one square left, king to b6, and again the most obvious move is only a draw. If white again goes for c8 equals queen, then black at the very least has a perpetual check, for example like this, and it's just a draw. And of course black can also simply trade queens again. Here actually it's very interesting and also fun, but the only way to win for white is to under-promote to a knight. That's of course with check, and black's problem is that there will always be a knight fork that can fork king and queen. Let's show that first. If king to a6, then knight c5 check, or king b7 and knight d6 wins the queen. Only one square left, king to b5, and we'll continue with this variation. First of all, knight d6 check. As I said, black cannot escape the forks. Now the king will at least threaten one of our knights, but we can save it with again a fork. King a5 is the only move. Then finally the queen is captured, and now white will win because we can force checkmate with 3 knights and the black king is already surrounded on the edge of the board. Check this out. Black tries king to b6, white wants to checkmate the king on the a file, so the king tries to escape there. Then knight to b4. The king doesn't have a lot of options, king to a5 is best. Going to a7, which is of course nearer to the corner, will result in mate more quickly. Yes, black could also move the knight instead, but now white can force checkmate. Watch this. Knight d5 check, king to a5. Then king to c6, which takes control of potential flight squares. Now the engine way to defend this would be to give up the knight with knight to c3, because then mate will be delayed with 2 moves. But if we play a human move like king to a4, then it's mate in 4 after knight c5 check, knight c4 check, knight b4 check, and finally knight b3 is checkmate. So going back, black should go for the king move, king to a5, but white will start creating a mating net again with again knight to d5. Now moving the king back to either a6 or a4 will be a quick checkmate after knight c5 check. Maybe you'd like to find those checkmates and let me know in the comments. Better is to move the knight, but then knight from e to c3, taking yet another square away from the king. The king only has one move, which is king to a6. Apart from that, black only has knight moves. Let's take a look at one knight move. Let's say knight to d4. Then we again have a mate in 4. Knight c4 check. King to a6. then king to c8, taking b7 away as a flight square. It doesn't matter a lot what black does now, let's say knight to b3. Then after knight c7 check, king a7, there is knight from 3 to b5 and checkmate. Going back here, going for the king move is black's most resilient try, but then again the white king helps out by taking away the b7 square. Now if the king goes back to a5, then it's again forced checkmate. Knight c4 check, king a6 back, then king to b8. The king has no squares left, and after let's say knight to e3, knight b4 is mate. If black doesn't move the king back, but let's say plays knight to a3, then first king to c6. White needs to vacate c7 for a knight check now. Now if the knight moves, there's again a mate in 5 after knight c7 check. Again, you can let me know in the comments what that is. If instead king to a7, then knight to c7 taking away a6. If king to b8, then knight from 3 to d5. Now the knight could box in the king some more after knight to b6. If the king flees back again, then it's mate after knight c8 check, king to b8, and knight from d to b6. The king now has no squares, so for example knight to c4 and knight a6 is mate. If instead the knight moves, then first king to b6. Now king a7 is never an option anymore, the black king is completely trapped. Now knight to b4 only delays checkmate. After knight to f6, knight d5 check, but mate will come anyway after knight takes knight. King a8, knight c7 check, king to b8, and then knight d7 is a pretty checkmate. Very cool, really difficult though when you actually sit down and try to work it all out. The main takeaways are that you should at least consider under-promoting sometimes, and that it can be easy to end up in a drawn position once your opponent can trade queens, or when your opponent has the chance to give checks. Apart from that, this was just a fun demonstration of checkmating with the knights. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider simply liking the video. Also feel free to check out many more studies in the playlist, and I'll be seeing you guys again soon, and take care.